The history of Great Zimbabwe is shrouded in chilling mystery. Over the years, both academic experts and local spirit mediums have offered different, sometimes conflicting theories about who built these incredible stone structures and why. Welcome to Gemini Blessed TV. In this episode, we'll explore some of those theories and highlight some fascinating parallels with other ancient cultures and sacred texts as we continue to unravel the mystery of Great Zimbabwe. If you're new, don't forget to hit subscribe for more interesting content. In 1976, Swiss author Erich von Däniken visited the Great Zimbabwe ruins. 3 years later, he would publish Signs of the Gods, a book documenting his global journey to study ancient mysteries and sites. Among the sites he explored was none other than Great Zimbabwe. At the time, Paul Sinclair, then curator and archaeologist in Rhodesia, had just completed excavations. He was confident the ruins were built by native tribes, not outsiders, and theorized that the structures may have been a fortress to protect valuable gold stored inside. But von Däniken wasn't convinced that the site was built for protection against robberies. While studying the layout of the complex, something about the great enclosure caught his attention. To von Däniken, the positioning of the conical tower looked eerily familiar. He saw a striking resemblance to a diagram he had once seen among the Dogon tribe of Mali, a group known for their advanced astronomical knowledge of the Sirius star system. The Dogon described the orbit of a star, Sirius B, circling Sirius A, long before Western science could confirm its existence. Standing in front of the ground plan, von Däniken felt strongly that there was a visual parallel. He speculated that the conical tower's placement mirrored the Sirius model and that the inner walls of the enclosure even traced the orbits of the so-called Shoemaker planet and the planet of the women, both referenced in Dogon folklore. For von Däniken, this wasn't a coincidence. He argued that in all places, religion has been the driving force that has driven humanity to construct superhuman monuments, and maybe Great Zimbabwe was one of them. While Erich von Däniken emphasized that his ideas were speculative, one intriguing parallel emerges when we take a closer look at the cultures and oral traditions of both the Dogon people of Mali and the traditional custodian clans of Great Zimbabwe. Both cultures hold ancestral stories around mermaid-like spiritual beings. The Dogon attribute their detailed knowledge of the Sirius star system to celestial entities known as the Nomo. Described as fish-like beings, the Nomo were sent by the creator god Ama. They are said to have arrived on Earth in a vessel with fire and thunder, created a reservoir of water and dived into it, requiring a watery habitat to survive. Known as the masters of the water or divine teachers, the Nomo shared wisdom on astronomy, healing, and agriculture with the Dogon. Coincidentally, Great Zimbabwe is home to a spring known as Chisikana, a Shona word meaning little girl, a name rooted in the site's mysterious and spiritual past. The earliest colonial mention of this pool was made in 1905 by Richard Hall. Both the Nemanwa and Mugabe clans, long recognized as local custodians of Great Zimbabwe, hold the spring as sacred. In 2001, anthropologist Just Fontaine recorded oral histories from the elders and spirit mediums of these clans. According to Nemanwa tradition, the spring is central to their origin myth. A mysterious young girl, Ambuya Chisikana, was found sitting by the water, the origins unknown. She was adopted and later married by Nemanwa, becoming the mythical matriarch of their lineage. In the Mugabe's clan account, the spring is where their great aunt, a young girl sent to fetch water at the spring, was abducted by a mermaid-like entity, or Njuzu in Shona, never to be found again. In the 1950s, colonial administrators introduced a concrete ceiling over the spring as part of landscaping efforts to accommodate a golf course at the Great Zimbabwe site. Decades later, after independence from Rhodesia and in consideration of the wishes of both the Nemano and Mugabe clans, the National Museums and Monuments of Zimbabwe removed the ceiling and recommissioned the spring in July 2000 through a traditional ceremony that brought together all surrounding local communities. Elders, chiefs and spirit mediums known as Mashikiro in Shona from the 3 surrounding clans were invited. Traditional beer was brewed, and according to a 2000 report by Edward Matenga, then director of the Great Zimbabwe World Heritage Site, 9 spirit mediums went into trance during the ceremony. Coincidentally, just like in the Dogon culture, the Njuzu, a spirit that closely resembles the Dogons no more, is still believed to this day to impart sacred spiritual knowledge to traditional healers across Zimbabwe. Coincidentally, the only biblical mention of a half-fish, half-human deity resembling the Njuzu of the Shona and the Nomo of the Dogon is in the same context as the Ark of the Covenant, an object some studies associate with the Lemba, a Southern African tribe also believed to descend from the ancient inhabitants of Great Zimbabwe. According to the book of 1 Samuel 5, verses 1-4, after defeating the Israelites, the Philistines took the Ark of God and placed it in the temple of Dagon, celebrating what they believed was a victory over the God of Israel. However, the next morning, the Philistines found the statue of Dagon fallen on its face before the Ark of the Lord. They set the idol upright again, but the following morning it had fallen once more, this time with its head and hands broken off, lying on the threshold. Believed to be the most sacred artifact of the Israelites, the Ark of the Covenant contained the stone tablets of the 10 Commandments. It was credited with numerous miracles, including parting the waters of the Jordan River to allow the Israelites to enter Canaan. The current location of the Ark has long been a matter of debate. One of the most famous theories links the Ark to Ethiopia, as described in the 14th century national epic, the Kebra Nagast, considered to be sacred history by the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. According to this text, the Queen of Sheba visited King Solomon in Jerusalem and bore him a son named Menelik. When Menelik returned to Ethiopia, he was accompanied by Jewish priests, one of whom secretly brought the Ark with them, leaving a replica in Jerusalem. Menelik is said to have brought the Ark to Aksum, using it to expand his empire, and his descendants, the Solomonic dynasty, ruled Ethiopia until 1974. To this day, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church claims that the Ark is kept in Aksum, guided by a virgin monk whose sacred duty is to protect it until death. Meanwhile, in Southern Africa, the Valemba or Varemba people of Zimbabwe and South Africa also claim ancestral ties to ancient Israel. They believe their ancestors carried a sacred object called the Ngoma Lungundu, the voice of God, which bears a striking resemblance to the biblical Ark of the Covenant. Although the Lemba did not originally equate the Ngoma Lungundu with the Ark, scholars have noted many parallels. It was carried on poles by priests, never allowed to touch the ground, revered as a divine instrument, and used as a weapon of spiritual power during battles. Lemba oral tradition maintains that calamity would follow if the drum were ever lost. A replica of the Ngoma Lungundu was found and documented in a cave in the 1940s by Swedish-German missionary Harald von Sickert, and is now held at the Museum of Human Sciences in Harare. Tudor Parfitt, a British historian and former professor of modern Jewish studies at the University of London's School of Oriental and African Studies, explored the connection between the Ngomalungundu and the Ark in a 2008 documentary after years of studying the Lemba and their Jewish roots. Parfitt proposed that the 700-year-old bowl-shaped relic could be a replica or even a continuation of the Ark that once carried the Ten Commandments. A splinter from the top of the relic was carbon dated to about 1300 CE, making it one of the oldest surviving wooden objects in southern Africa. According to Lemba oral tradition recorded by Parfitt, the Lemba may have descended from peoples who left Judea in biblical times, traveled through Yemen, then journeyed into East Africa, Ethiopia, and eventually into Southern Africa, bringing the sacred object with them. Interestingly, Portuguese missionary João dos Santos, who lived and worked in the Sofala region, wrote in 1609 that the Munumutapa bore a strong physical resemblance to the Abyssinians, also known as Ethiopians. In his book The Lost Ark of the Covenant from 2008, Parfitt cites Arabic sources which claim that the Ark was brought in ancient times to Yemen. While there are various oral traditions regarding how the ancestors of the Lemba arrived in southern Africa, DNA genetic analysis conducted in the 2000s confirmed that the Lemba people possess a partially Middle Eastern genetic heritage. Interestingly, before excavations and carbon dating disproved them, for over 400 years, foreigners widely believed that Great Zimbabwe was the work of King Solomon, the last biblical figure to house the Ark of the Covenant in the temple before its mysterious disappearance. The earliest recorded theories about the site's origins came from Arab travelers whose stories were passed down to Portuguese explorers. In the 1500s, Arab traders told the Portuguese that the ruins of Great Zimbabwe were once trading depots of the Queen of Sheba. In 1871, German explorer and geographer Karl Marx became the first Westerner to study and report on Great Zimbabwe. After conducting detailed studies of the site, he boldly claimed that it was a replica of Solomon's temple and that he had discovered Ophir, the biblical land believed to be the source of King Solomon's gold. Mauch also recorded that the Warori people gathered every 2 to 4 years at the foot of the Great Zimbabwe Hill after their harvest to celebrate a grand feast and sacrifice to Mwari, using their ancestors as intermediaries. He saw parallels between these rituals and ancient Israelitic traditions, reinforcing his belief that the ruins were linked to biblical history. The similarities of these sacrifices to those ordained in the Israelitic cult is unmistakable. Relying on this, I believe I do not err when I suppose that the ruin on the mountain is an imitation of the Solomonic temple on Mount Moriah, the ruin on the plain, a copy of that palace in which the Queen of Sheba dwelled during her visit to Solomon. Richard Hall, an English journalist and lawyer, later surveyed the great enclosure and compiled detailed plans of the valley ruins. He concluded that the civilization at Great Zimbabwe likely had Sabian-Arabian origins, linking it again to the Queen of Sheba. Although these theories were later discredited due to racial bias, lack of archaeological evidence, and inconsistencies in timelines, the parallels that surround the biblical stories and oral traditions of the cultures are strongly intriguing. But the parallels do not end there. One symbol at the heart of these mysteries is the Star of David, also known as the Seal of Solomon. This symbol, which now appears on the flag of Israel, is also used today by the Lemba as their official emblem, affirming their Jewish ancestry. But they aren't the only ones using it in southern Africa. Among the descendants of Great Zimbabwe, the Shona, and across Bantu-speaking communities, traditional healers report being initiated through ancestral dreams. In these dreams, they are shown specific clothes which they are instructed to obtain physically. These clothes are considered sacred because they are believed to carry spiritual power and are often worn to invoke protection, healing, and the guidance of their ancestors. Each cloth is unique in design, color, and symbols, often prescribed by spirits, and varies by lineage and region. One such cloth, often dreamt by spiritual initiates, including those living near Great Zimbabwe, features a symbol that resembles none other than the seal of Solomon. Even more fascinating, on these clothes, the seal appears alongside the image of a lion, the very symbol the tribe of Judah which King David and Solomon belonged to. In Shona culture, the word Mondoro refers to both the lion and the royal ancestral spirits. These sacred clothes aren't limited to traditionalists. Leaders of African initiated churches also use them during spiritual initiations to unlock powers of healing, prophecy, and divine insight. The Rastafari community also embraces these same symbols to represent Haile Selassie and the tribe of Judah. In the Bible, the lion was designated as the symbol of Judah by Jacob in the book of Genesis, the tribe of King David and Solomon. Are these parallels merely coincidental, or could they hint at a deeper hidden connection? As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned.